Hello students, welcome to Btech360. For the past many years, there's been a massive debate of the kind of success that online coaching would do for students. Especially during COVID times, a lot of online coaching companies came in and they only started delivering online because the offline coaching was closed. And then the debate started because most of these companies that actually started online coaching could not prove the outcomes, which is success rate of the students who actually went through them. And because of that, offline coaching again came back. But having said that, online coaching also is a need, especially for two reasons. In many places, there might not be access to good coaching institutions. In fact, 55% of the students who actually take the examination, they're coming from those places where there is no access to coaching. And the other part of it is affordability of coaching also. Quite a few people might not be able to afford the kind of cost of coaching that is there. Or they might not actually have a very good coaching institution which is close to their home also. Because remember, we're talking of very young people who might not be wanting to travel outside or might not want to have a lot of time to travel for 5, 7, 8 kilometers to get into a good coaching institution. Because of all the access, affordability issues, online coaching is here to stay. It is just that we need to be understanding the kind of success rates that you have for the online coaching and also understand what kind of student can do it and what is it that it takes to actually use the online coaching to be successful in the end outcome, which is ensuring that you get a good rank, a good score to get into a good college. Ultimately, that's the student outcome that we're looking for. Now, we kept looking for this data and we kept writing to a lot of people over the many years, but very few edtech companies actually could come back to us and give us actual data of how many students actually studied only online, and how the success rate has been. Of late, for the JEE main results having come out, we did reach out to Allen Coaching also. Allen also has Allen Digital, which is a very good product. And they also give online coaching. Allen, of course, the offline classroom coaching, you know that about 42 students have actually topped the top 100 ranks in the country. But they also have an online presence and they have a decent presence in online. From that perspective, we wanted to understand how the data works out. Remember, the reason why we're using this particular data is because it's audited by Ernst & Young. So to that extent, I'm more or less comfortable and confident that the data is at least vetted and audited by someone, and to that extent the data would be correct as far as when it comes back to people like us. So when we looked at that data, Allen Coaching presented some kind of an understanding, or it gives you an understanding of what kind of student is likely to succeed if they do only online coaching. That's what we're talking about here, right? So here it is, we're talking of JEE Main 2026, how online students perform. That's what we're looking at. And we're looking at it from the prism of Allen Digital. We are looking at it from the prism of Allen Digital Learning Platform because that's the only data that we have at this point in time. And I promise you that if any other coaching institution also wants to give their data so that we can actually make a larger case out of that, we'll be more than happy to do that. Now, the active learner days, the first thing is we will start looking at, we're talking of 99 percentile, 98 percentile, top 100 rankers, which means is much better than 99 percentile to a certain extent. Top 1000 rankers, again better than 99 percentiles, and top 5000 and top 25,000. In 99 percentile is typically a 15,000 ranker, right? Now, if you look at top 100 and top 1000 ranks, the active learner days, if you look at it, is 224. The top 100 is 224 days is what they spent on the platform, which means we're talking of every week they will be on the platform for about 5 days. That's the kind of number that you're dealing with, to 4.5 to 5 days, to ensure that you actually succeed. That's when you get into the top 100. By the way, Allen Digital has 2 people, if I'm not wrong, who are from Allen Digital, who are in the top 100 rankers of the country. 2 students, and both the students in all the way it works out, they were there on the platform at least 4 to 5 days a week. Now, when you deal with top 1000, they spent about 153 days over the year, which means they spent at least 3 days in a week on the platform. And top 5000 spent 204 days, right? 204 days. Now, because it gets averaged out, we're dealing with 204 days. Now, 204 days essentially means that you're spending about 4 days a week in a certain sense, right? And top 25,000 spent 221 days, which means again we're dealing with about 4 to 5 days a week. And then 99% is 195. So essentially what we're talking of here is you need to be spending about 200 days out of 365 days on the app. But it's not just about the number of days, it's also the number of hours. The first base minimum that you need to do is, but for Saturday and Sunday, you will be there on the app at least 4 on the other 5 days, working days. Now the second part of it, how many hours do you need to spend online? So now that's very interesting because the top 100 students spent 868 hours over the year. By the way, we're talking of 1 year only. I don't even know how many years they were on the platform, but the last year of the examination, when we look at it, the total number of app hours spent was 868 hours. Now you look backward, they were talking about 200 days where the student spends on the thing, and 868 hours is what they do, which means we're talking about 4.3, 4.4 hours per day when they spend. So it's not just about the number of days, but how serious was the time spent on that particular platform. If you spend for 15 minutes and then close the laptop, it doesn't work. You need to really, really immerse yourself on the studies in a very, very serious way, and only then it will succeed, which is what this claims. But because if you look at it, the 99% is 852 hours, 98% is 892, top 100 is 868, top 1000 is 756, top 5000 is 901, and top 20,000 is 937. So we're dealing with about 880 to 900 hours. Right. Now, if you look at it from that perspective, what we're talking about here is that if you spend 200 days, and that's the kind of number that you're spending about 4.5 hours kind of a thing every single day for the days when you actually open your system and start studying for the examination preparation. Only then you have a chance of success. If you bought a online product, and you don't even open your laptop, or even if you open your laptop, you don't study, and assuming you study but you don't take the mock test, this is not meant for you. You really need to be self-motivated. The other thing that I know for a fact is that online works a lot more for those people who have a premise where they can understand the concepts when it is discussed online also. You need to be slightly strong in fundamentals and foundational skills for you to actually make it work for you. But the very more important thing is that you need to be self-motivated. Someone doesn't need to push you. You are pushing yourself. Because only then you'll be able to spend 4.5 hours a day. Only then you'll ensure that for at least 4 days in a week, you actually open the laptop and study. That is what, and this is the data of Alan. Again, I'm repeating, because that's the only data at this point in time that we have. Hopefully, as other institutions also come and share data, which is audited data, because I don't want to be sitting here and doing a PR exercise for someone else, mind you. But if someone can share other data which is more specific, more audited and those kind of things, I'll be more than happy to cover this for them also. Now the next part of it is, what is the average daily time? That's a division that we talked of. The top 1000 spent about close to 5 hours, and the top 5000 spent 4.5 hours, and top 20,000 spent 4.2 hours, and otherwise 4.4 hours, right? So we're dealing with about 4 to 4.5 hours is what we heard. So this is what is the amount of time that you spend to be successful in the JEE thing. Right, and we will also wait for the NEET results to come to do a similar exercise, by the way. But the important thing for us is, remember, the reason why online is extremely important is there are many students in this country who do not have access to good coaching. There are many students in this country who cannot afford good coaching. And there are many students who actually don't want to go to coaching, but just want to sit there and do online because they understand foundational concepts, they understand fundamentals and all, and they want to do a serious schooling thing while also using the online coaching to prepare for a test prep examination. And from that perspective, online coaching is very important. It is just that we are trying to understand what should the student be, or what kind of student would be able to use online resources and still be extremely successful in the examination. Now, so this is what we're talking of, the average 868 hours, right, all slabs, and of which 36 days of continuous use. This essentially happens at the fag end of the whole thing. 201 days is what their active thing is, and 3.9 to 4.9 hours, which we actually already expend, right? And 55% of the year they're active, which is what I said, 3 to 4 days a week is what they will always be there on the platform. Now, based on this, the kind of success that Allen Digital saw is what we are now talking about, right? And by the way, the data that we have as of now, it can increase as we move along, because some of these companies are extremely careful about how they aggregate data. Unless they take student consent, they don't put it up. And it's very important for them to have it audited also in a certain sense. So from that perspective, this is, up and running, and it's still being counted. But what we saw is Allen Digital had 128 plus, 99 percentilers, which means they got a rank of less than 15,000. About 98 percentile, they have 165 plus students. Top 100, they have 2 students. Top 1000, they have 12 plus students, which means, you're likely to get into one of the CS branches of one of the IITs, or rather one of the NITs for sure, and hopefully when they do JEE advance also, they might get into one of the IITs also. But they're up there where they can get into one of the NITs at a CS branch also. 12 of them would do that. Top 5,000 is 46 of them, which means they'll get into definitely into NITs and all. And top 20,000 is 147 plus. So that's the kind of success that we saw. And these people, if you look at this one, for example, the top 100, the 2 students, they spent 868 hours over 224 days, about 4 hours a day is what they spent. But they were more regular. If you notice here, these people spent 5 hours a day and 153 days only. But the toppers spent more number of days, 4 hours a day. So consistency matters. Consistency matters. You might spend half hour lesser, but make sure that you come on the platform every day. These students came 5 days a week, and that's where they are, right? So this is the data that you saw of the kind of success that students who use Allen Digital online product succeeded. We all know that Allen also has about 40, 41, 42 students who are actually in the top 100 of the country. But for us, it was very important to understand how the online behavior happened, what kind of students succeeded in online test prep, and that is where we try to collate. Again, I repeat, anyone else who has success rates of online products, I'll be more than happy to understand and put this together. Because for us, the simple thing is this: we need to give greater access to good test prep and coaching material to students across the country. Only then it will work out for us. We looked at NEET data sometime back in 2024 when the entire scam broke out. We realized that about 55% of the cities from where there is an exam center that was there did not have a coaching center. Because those days, if you recall, there are 4,500 test prep centers that were there across 566 cities, of which only 221 cities and towns had a coaching center, because we mapped the top 25 coaching institutions to those each center that was there, and only 221 towns had one, and 335 of them did not have anything. And the success rate of that once where we had coaching access was 89%, and the success rate for the 335 towns where there is no access to coaching was just 11%. And that is where it is important for us as a nation, as a country, to ensure that there are good quality, test prep products which are delivered online, which we can reach out to very far and wide of this country, the far-flung areas of this country, to make sure that test prep resources are equally accessible to everyone, and to that extent there is equity and fairness in the examination process also. And what we're discussing about this whole thing is from that perspective of what kind of a student should do online and what should you do to be successful when you're using the online resources. That's what the entire objective here is. So when you look at that entire thing, this is what it was. You have in the Allen online, again I'm repeating, 2 students in the top 100. In the top 1000 there are 12 students. In the top 5000 there are 46 students. In the 19th percentile, there are 128 students, 98th percentile, 165 students. In the top 25,000, 147 students. Of course, it will be between these two. So that is the kind of success that we saw. And just to put things in context, one of the students who got 100 percentile, his name is Yashvardhan. He's also an Allen online coaching student, and he's a 100 percentiler, AR 11 rank he got. Remember, there are 2 students in the top 100 for Allen Digital. He spent 1,233 hours on the app, right, across 381 days, which means he was there much before the examination. More than 1 year is what he was on the thing, because you earlier remember about 195 days. So he would have taken a 2-year product, if I will, and he spent 3.2 hours a day. And that is how he became the AIR 11 and 100 percentile in the country. The important thing what I'm trying to explain to you is that for you to be successful using an online test prep product, you need to be consistent, you need to be disciplined, you need to create your own competition, because in offline classes, students are there as competition. Here, you need to create your own competition. You need to have a very strong foundational skills in terms of the concepts and understanding of the concepts. And most importantly, you should make sure that you're self-motivated and self-regulated. Because if you're not motivated, if you don't push yourself, online product is not meant for you. If you can't create competition for yourself, online product is not meant for you. If you don't have discipline, online product is not meant for you. But if you have discipline, if you can push yourself, if you understand concepts at a, at an online level also, where you don't need further and further explanation, then online works for you, and that kind of success can also happen to you. I hope this helps students who actually want to study in the classroom, in the schools, while also appearing for good examinations and being successful in those examinations also. But very important for all of us to understand what is it that takes a student who takes only online test prep to be successful. That's what we try to understand. Thank you so much. Namaste.